This is separate. I've kept this separate quite on purpose. We're going to continue looking at quadratics, as is obvious by the title, but previously, just a quick refresher, we looked at y is equal to x squared, which, no, I should not have done that, which gave me this shape here. And because there's, in fact, although it's not shown, there's a plus there, it opens up. Now if I change that to minus, it opens down. Okay, and really what this is in its full format, let's change that back to plus. Now this is very important. I said there's a 1 there, so we got 1 of x squared. We then looked at something like plus 3x. Now I've got an additional plus there, we don't want that, do we? Though mathematically it wouldn't make any difference. Now I was saying that this value here, the 3, if we halve it, we get 1.5. Make it the opposite sign here, so it comes negative 1.5, and that'll be the x value of this here. So if I go for x equals minus 1.5, and I'll make it a dotted line. Can you remember this now? Can you remember? Does it look familiar? That is where it changes its shape or slope from down to up. It's called a vertex. It's a minimum, and that is where, as long as there's a 1 there, it is half of that 3, and its sign is changed to the opposite. So if it's plus, it becomes negative. Right, we were talking about that. Get rid of this, and then I added a constant plus some value. Let's go 5, shall we? And that tells me where the graph crosses the y-axis, because the graph, the y-axis is where x is equal to 0. So that is 0 times 3, which is 0. That is 0 squared, which is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. So y is equal to, these disappear, y is equal to 5. So that is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Now that's what we were talking about in the last video. We're going to take this up a notch now. Let me totally get rid of that lot. Okay. So I said that as long as there's a 1 in front of the x squared, what happens if it's not a 1 in front of the x squared? Well, let's start with the basis upon which everything is built. So I've got y is equal to x squared, which gives me the familiar horseshoe with it opening upwards because it's positive. Okay, so we've got a 1 there. Suppose I were to do this. Instead of that y, suppose I were to double the y. Then if I doubled the left hand side of the equals, I'd have to double the right hand side of the equals. So the new y, would be a different value, is equal to 2 times x squared. So this is saying that I've doubled that value there. So if I've doubled that value there, this y is going to be twice as big as that y for whatever value of x we put in. And that means basically it makes it steeper because a point here is shifted up to there. Yes? No? Let me demonstrate that a bit further by doing this. I need to think, so I'm going to pause the video for a moment and then have a quick think. Yeah, I think I've got it sussed. Right, suppose we were in this top one to give x the value of 2. Then that would be 2 2 squared, which is 4. So y would be the value of 4, and x would be the value of 2. So let me put that point in. X is the value of 2, which is what we decided to put into x. We square it and we get 4. Now that will give me a point on that line there, and I want that to be the same colour, so let's change this and make it red. Now that should give me a dot. There we are. Look, x is 2, so y is 4. Okay, that's for this one here. Now in here, x is still 2, but we've multiplied, so it's 2 squared, which is 4, and we multiply that by 2, so it becomes 8. So if I then go plus, x is still 2, the new value, 2 squared is 4, 2 4s are 8, and you should see that that point has gone up. There you are, look, it's up on there. Let me just change that colour, shall I? Let's change that to what? Let's go for a pretty colour. There we go. So by multiplying this equation here, let's put that in there. This one doubles the value of the x part here. Whatever we do to x in here, this one doubles it. So if x is 2, 2 squared is 4. Now we double 4 and we get 8. Come up there. And we get, oh, come on, let's move this. Thank you. We get 8, 9, 10. See, so what it does is it lifts it up. So if multiplying by 2 increases the value of the y, if I multiply by a half, it should reduce the value of y. Y equals 1 over 2. If you like, I can put in the times, it doesn't matter, x squared. Now that should open up the graph. Watch, look, and no, we don't do that colour, let's do brown. It's opened up, look, there. So whatever value of y we have in here, we halve it, and so it comes down to there. This halves that. So this y is half of that y if x's have the same value. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Here comes the crunch. Here comes the crunch. Let me get rid of all that lot. I said that y equals, now if we just have x squared on its own, plus, I don't know, 4x, okay? If you like, I'm going to put 0. So that will go through the y-axis at y equals 0. And because the x squared is positive, it will open upwards. The vertex, or the point where it changes its slope, it gets flatter and flatter and flatter, then coming down, 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 flatter, flatter, then it starts to go up. It's half of that, but it's negative half, so it's negative 2. Yes? Let's have a look at that. X equals negative 2. Make it a dotted line. There you go. Alright. The point of intersection, let me lift that up a bit. X is negative 2. The vertex y is negative 4, but the point is x is negative 2. I've halved that, and I've changed that sign, I've reversed it. When there's 1 in front of the x. Now if I were to put a 5 in front of x, it would have moved. It's moved. Now putting 5 in front of the x has made it steeper. And notice it's shifted to the right. It was over this line here, but it's now shifted to the right. Why is that? Well, that is because really when I said we have, let me get rid of that 5. We have there x is equal to, if you like, -1 times the 4/2. And it's the dotted line. Repeatedly seeing it helps fix it in the mind. That matches, okay? But the thing is, it's not just 4/2. There's a 1 there. That 1, in fact, goes there. Now that will not have any consequential change, not result in any consequential change to that too. So you will still get that line passing there. Now watch this. If I change that to say 5, and I change that 1 there to 5. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken that 5 and I've put it under there. It shows that it is indeed the x value of the vertex. This is very important when you get into the higher level GCSEs and A levels. All right, you have that is definitely divided by 2, and you definitely change that sign. But not only you divide that by 2, you also divide it by whatever value is there. Hence we have divide by 2, divide by the 5. That 5 is the 5 that's in front of the x squared. Very important point. Now the thing about this particular trick is that it shows up in something called completing the square. You will not get that in functional skills, I guarantee it. Upper levels GCSE, you may get it. A levels, absolutely. You will get completing the square. It is another way of looking at quadratics. There are 3 ways of looking at a quadratic, and I'm going to be talking about those in the next video. This is just to demonstrate the importance of, why is that still there? I didn't delete it. This here, divide by a half, or no, divide by 2, you halve it, then you divide by that value there, then you change the sign, and it tells you the x value of what they call the vertex. It is the point where the slope changes from going down in this case to up. It also works if that is -5. Hang on. Does that become a -5 there? Let's just have a look, shall we? Yes, I reckon that does. The sign, -5, follows it down to here. -5. The sign there follows it to there. The sign from that follows it down to here. So we have that. Very important. Signs are sometimes a bit challenging. I'm going to stop the video here. This is just an overview. It's to get you thinking the right way. This is not functional skills. Right? This is perhaps, well, it's definitely A-level, maybe you might get it in the upper levels of GCSE. Keep watching this if you're talking about getting that type of qualification. Keep watching it. Fix it in your mind. Let's just get rid of that.